bless you. I got into something, didn't I? I want to thank the Lord real well for undertaking for Brother Capps' boy. It just so happened that this is the little time that I come back to India. I know that they're not recording this, I suppose, not. And so then I don't see nobody in there. So I come back and go squirrel hunt. And so I guess Charlie's going to have to put up with me, him and Nellie and them down in Kentucky now for a day or two to squirrel hunt. So I'd rather miss any other kind of recreation than come here on about the middle of August and go squirrel hunting with Charlie and Banks and all of them. It's kind of a traditional thing with me. And so I took Joe, when we was here the other time, everybody got sick. It changed from that real hot climate down to this cool climate you got here. I know you think it's not cool, but you come out to Arizona once. It's 109 in the shade when I left the other morning. And then around midnight in the night, when the cool air come down off the mountain, it's still 96. See, that's at midnight when the cool air was coming down. And so that place is all right in the wintertime, but it's for scorpions and lizards in the summertime, not human beings. Even all the animals take off for the mountains. They just can't stand it. And I'd been out to shoot my little rifle in. Somehow I just want to tell you about the little Capps boy. And I said, and Joe, I just have to give him the rifle because he can outshoot me. We got it shot in, and I drive and tax 50 yards, and I said to Joe said, Daddy, I believe I can do that. Poor little fellow had a headache. I've been praying for him, a high fever. He went out the range with me. Any 2/10 bore in a 22 rifle that crosses its line of fire at 25 yards is in again at 50, just the same, if it's 2/10. So then, and I had shot it in at 25 yards, and so I had 2 more tacks, and I put up. You know, if Joe didn't drive both them tacks, I didn't have any more tacks, so I put a little bit of piece of an old clay pigeon had been bursted there, what trap shooters shoot at, just about 1/4 of an inch across, and tuck it out on 50 yards, and he cut it half in 2. And the scope was set for my eyes, just a few years older than he was. So he said, you know what, I've got to go by and tell Billy to keep off of my feet from now on. so I said, well, I'll tell you what, I said, let's go down and show Brother Norman that. I said, Joe, and matches across the world, I don't care who it would be, nobody. Now, the tacks wasn't drove sideways, they were drove straight through. And that piece, not over, I guess 1/4 of an inch and a 1/16 thick and 1/4 of an inch high, he cut it half in 2 at 50 yards. I said, there's no one in the world could have made a better shot. Champions could have done the same thing, but you couldn't have made 3 better shots than them. The tack's not bent, just a straight hole through the paper where the tack went through. And it's just simply spread out. You can buy anything out, cheat, lie, steal, everything else. As I said a few Sundays ago, and look where you're at. See? Nothing but just a crooked mass of everything. But a righteous king can make his own laws. And you can kill a man, you know good politics, that's all right, you get out of it. See? And so the democracy is a good idea, but it won't work. You're like communism. All things in common. It sounds good, but it won't work. No, God's way of having a king like David was right. And you got one mind centered over like one leader and a bunch of geese or so forth. You can't take 2 or 3 of them, and then you mess them all together, you come up with any kind of an idea. So we find the conditions today ready for the coming of the Lord. But while Brother Neville and I and these other brothers are trying to shepherd a flock, I've got something on my mind now that comes that we might talk about. That is, I got a letter the other day from a fine lady. I never got it come through another person. And she was certainly tearing me to pieces, or trying to, was saying, can't you Christian businessmen do something to stop Brother Branham? Said because that he's got this book out now called The Laodicea Church Age, bringing out more, and said he's just simply tearing Pentecostal doctrine to pieces. Said now he's talking about the initial evidence ain't speaking in tongues. And said then he's against women preachers, and this was a woman preacher. And her boys, some of the best friends that I got in the world. They're among the best friends that I got. And she said now, and this man and wife, I was eating breakfast with them, they said, Brother Branham, look at this, would you think it? And pulled out a letter. I said, well, sister, she just don't understand. The boys told me their mother was a woman preacher and that she didn't go for the message. And now she says in here, she said, now he said women should not have authority over man. Said, how about Phoebe in the Bible? Paul's helper. Certainly. She was a seller of goods. And Paul asked the people, you think Paul would say, let the women keep silent in the churches, not permitting them to speak, and turn around and say, now Phoebe, my helper in the gospel, she go to preach in a few nights. Well, he'd contradict his own word. Right. And said then, to top it all, I believe it was Esther was one of the judges in the Bible. Said a woman was a judge in the Bible. If that's not authority over man, and this businessman that was healed right here in the church not long ago, he said, now, his wife said, Brother Branham, that always puzzled me. I said, well, sister, how would that puzzle you? Said, well, here is a woman judge. I said, that's politics, not the church. Amen. Now, I have nothing to do with the church. Paul said, let it be under obedience as also saith the law. And the law can't put a woman up to be a priest. Can't put it up. You never seen a woman high priest, you never seen a woman a priest. Nowhere in the Bible. You never seen a woman a preacher in the Bible. Certainly, some of them was prophetess and so forth, Miriam and different ones, and Esther, or one of them was a judge over Israel. Sometimes they were queens over them, and so forth, like that king and queen. The decease of the king, the queen had to take his place to elect another king, and so forth. In Tucson, Arizona, we got a woman judge there in the city. That's the reason the city's so polluted. And we got a woman ain't got no business in politics. She got no business over any authority in the church. Her place is a man's queen at home. Outside of that, she has nothing. And we know that to be the truth. You'll never find it. I know that sounds old-fashioned, but I'm responsible. And I know that after my going away from this earth, them tapes and them books will be living on, and many of you young children will find in the days to come that this is exactly the truth. Because I speak it in the name of the Lord. Now we wonder how a woman that's a good woman, and she is brought on this earth by her loyal husband, a good man. Some of the finest boys that I ever met, they're men, that I've ever met. And just quickly, just as soon as they heard the message, they were sold on it 100%. Now that can only come by foreordination. It's the only way it can come. Now, the question is here, I was thinking that, see now while the Lord was bringing me back to know it not. Thou art naked, miserable, wretched, blind, and know it not. Before I get to that spot, I might brief what I said a few days ago here in a message on, I believe it was the God of this world blinded the eyes of the people, that they absolutely worship the devil in religious services. Did you all get that? All of you understood it? And then in that same message, I brought the subject that a woman wearing immoral clothes indecently, she is be judged at the judgment bar as a street prostitute. That sounds awful strange. Let me draw you a little picture. Now, here is an attorney in the city, a young fellow. And he's a nice man as far as as politically, I imagine he may be decent in his politics. And then he goes with a girl that's very popular. They fall in love and marry. They attend to all the parties and the great things, and they all drink together. Finally, he has a nice home. He lives in a nice neighborhood. He's well thought of amongst the people, but both of them drink. She wears shorts, cuts her hair, wears makeup, everything just as sexy-ish, beautiful woman, displaying herself. Well, she never goes to church at all, neither one of them. So, moving next door to him comes a woman from the Baptist church or the Methodist church, her and her husband. Now, this woman, let's make it Methodist, because the Methodists go a little more on holiness than the Baptists, all except the New Testament Baptists, they believe in holiness. But usually Baptists don't go for holiness at all. See, they don't believe in such a thing. So then, now let's make it Methodist because they believe in holiness. And then a Methodist woman moves next door to this woman on the same street. Her husband is, let's say he's a public accountant and or some office. Well, this Methodist woman looks over to the other woman, and when this lawyer goes out of town, his name's John. Say his name is John. Now, don't presume on that now. I'm just taking fiction names now. And his name is John. Well, she used to go with Ralph. And that's fiction name, all of it. See, so you get the story, to make the picture. Well, first thing you know, at a drunken party, Ralph hugs her again. Well, she gets all fired up because she's in love again with Ralph, she thinks. Then after a while, Ralph begins to meet her. And she can put it over John, pull it over his eyes, and she thinks she's pretty smart duck because she can run with Ralph married to John. See, the woman don't even have the very bearing of decency. And she thinks nothing about that. But this Methodist woman has raised up in another bracket. She does at least go to church. And she thinks that that woman is horrible. Why, she says to her husband when he comes in, I see that man go in there and meet her. And when John's out on a case somewhere, Philadelphia somewhere, he takes her out in his roadster. And they lay out on the beach. I see him come home, don't even pull the curtains down sometimes, kissing her and making love to her next door. Oh, isn't that awful, she says to her husband. Well, she's nothing but a public prostitute. It's true. She's worse than a public prostitute because she's a married woman. See? And this Methodist woman thinks that's horrible. She never goes to church. Now, this Methodist woman would not